that facility to carry it forward in the future.
All right. Anything else arising?
No comment, Councillor?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My comment would be, why involve government if you don't have to? Government screw things up all the time.
Is that kind of an arrow in our hip pocket or what?
Sir.
No, that's both fair statements, actually, all things considered. But
Your Worship, I think, a little oversight there and perhaps, to let the museum board that we support them and we would like to see them progress further and give them some help. I mean, I don't know what happens there, and I don't know if any of us know what happens, but I think it's an endorsement of what they do and would certainly help them move forward.
all right, thank you. Councillor Bruin?
I just like to say I agree with Councillor Strobus on this. If they could have a voice on council with upcoming issues or anything, it would be awfully nice that we would be aware of what's coming up or something, and a little bit of council involvement in it, I think is a good idea.
All right, anything else arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Strauss.
Yes, Your Worship, I would make the motion that council appoints Councillor Bruin as a representative to the Tabor and District Irrigation Impact Museum Board.
All right, Councillor Bruin, you're good with that?
Yes, I'd be honored.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Bruin. All right, on to item 6.4, procurement policy. Mr. Armfield.
Yes, this is coming back for council's consideration after some conversation, advice from officials in camera at the last meeting. I believe Ms. Parsons is here. If she can step up just to answer any questions that you may have. Otherwise, it's up to you to make a decision.
All right, thank you, Ms. Parsons.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So just a couple of things. The request for decision that we're bringing forward today still identifies the two areas of concern that we had, one being local preference and one the award process and authorization. And as per previous recommendation, the local preference has not changed from the original recommendation. However, item number 2, the award process and authorization, draw your attention to number 4. Anything over $75,000 will be competitive bids and it will be approved by council via a request for decision, which was the wording from the original policy or the previous policy approved in 2010.
All right, thank you. Questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Bruin.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make the motion that council accepts the amendments and renews the procurement policy CS-FIN-1 as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? Councillor Firth.
I would just like to state that I actually preferred the last version of it. I find it redundant to have these decisions come back to council when they are within budget. If we budgeted for that amount and administration finds that that's the best value and the best decision, then I think that we should allow administration to make that decision. I don't think it needs to come back to council in the form of an RFD, but that is my 2 cents.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? Questions? All right. Once again, motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Item 6.5, disability management policy. Mr. Armfield.
Yes, for the next little while, we're getting into our bevy of policy recalls. Mr. Dave Dusky, oh, there you are, is going to be the first one at bat.
All right, thank you. Mr. Dusky.
Afternoon, Council and Your Worship. So before you, you have the Disability Management Policy ADM-3 for review. A review of the policy did not bring about any changes. The procedure was amended somewhat, particularly the package that employees take to their physician when they go to the doctor. The letter for the physician, the letter for the employee, the PDA, the physical demands analysis was redone for each position in town, and the modified restriction form that the physician fills out has been adjusted. But the policy itself has not changed.
All right,
Any
thank
questions?
you. Any questions whatsoever? Councillor Becker.
I'm prepared to make a motion.
All right,
That council approves the Disability Management Policy ADM-3 as presented.
motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 6.6, request processing policy. Mr. Armfelt.
Mr. Abdel Khalik is going to address this one. This is the request tracker that you get it from me every month at the end of every month. And there's some minor adjustments, I believe, to this one.
All right, thank you.
Go ahead.
Al,
Afternoon.
good afternoon.
Just to confirm you were back in business.
Oh,
With all
perfect. Good.
respect.
Thank you for that.
So just in another process to update one of our policies and procedures. There is no many changes in the policy itself, but the procedure changed a lot to match our new website and the process that going through our website. Now all the requests go direct to the manager or the director of the area. We also added some new areas like social media. Now we are getting requests on social media that wasn't covered in the old procedure. And I attached both policies and procedures for you.
Great. Thank you. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Garner.
Prepared to make that motion, Mr. Mayor, at this time. The council approves the request processing policy ADM-2 as presented.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Thanks, Al. Item 6.7, off-street parking policy. Mr. Armfelt.
Yeah, next up is Miss Monks, I believe. She'll run us through an explanation of this one.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and members of council. So the review of policy and procedures continues. The off-street parking policy allows for a collection of a cash in lieu payment for developments that are unable to provide parking that's been identified in the land use bylaw. And the policy has not actually been used for some time. So administration would recommend that the policy be repealed. At this time, we would encourage that applicants provide the parking as required under the land use bylaw, or in instances such as in the downtown where the bylaw allows for a variance on parking, they would apply then for that variance through the Municipal Planning Commission without the cash in lieu requirement, just to encourage the continued redevelopment of our downtown and other areas where it's, you know, sometimes a little difficult for a business that's starting out. Should council desire, the policy could instead be updated, and I would just, or administration would just look to you for some advice or some direction with regard to whether you would want to see that cash in lieu increased, decreased, stay the same, or, as I said, be repealed and removed.
All right, thank you. Councillor Strauss.
Your worship, to administration. There's a comment or a item here that where it says there's been a collection of funds to be set aside for the use of a downtown parking lot or parkade or whatever. Are there any funds designated to that fund?
There are not.
So over the years, that money has went into general revenues then?
I don't believe, or at least I didn't see anywhere in the development permit applications that we had actually collected the cash in lieu. I suppose a long time ago it may have happened, but when I checked with finance, there were no funds put aside.
Thank you for your clarification.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council repeals off-street parking policy 14C-159/83.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 6.8, policies proposed for repeal of finance, Mr. Armfield.
Oh, Miss Dam. Okay. I was wondering. Sometimes I don't know until there's eye contact made who's coming up. So, Miss Dam, take us away.
All right.
7.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship and members of council. So I have 7 policies here that I would like to repeal. I'm just going to run through them, and then if you have any questions, I can answer them afterwards. So the first is the Municipal Government Act fees and other charges. This no longer needs to be a standalone policy because it's already covered under Section 553 of the Municipal Government Act. The new water meter record is a policy that is no longer applicable. The manufactured/mobile home tax reimbursement policy is also covered under the Municipal Government Act under Section 368. And then Tabor Housing Authority, this is a policy that is no longer in effect. The use of postage meter, this policy is already covered under the Employee Code of Conduct. Utility refunds, this policy is no longer in use. And then Purchase Materials, Alberta Association of MDs and Counties, this policy is also no longer in use.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the interest of brevity, could I make a motion to encompass all these 7, Mr. Armfield?
You could. I might get an elbow in my left rib, though, if you do that. I know from a best management practices that we would prefer to have everyone repealed on its own. And what happens then is we actually have a policy binder. And then attached to that policy binder, when we remove the policy, we actually staple then the motion that has removed that policy, that's rescinded that policy, so then the policy and the motion rescinding it are all in one particular package, and if anybody ever wants to go in the future to review it, it is all itemized and right there in front of you. So from a process of being complete, we do ask that 7 motions are made.
Thank you, Mr. Armfield. I'm prepared to make a motion, Mr. Mayor, that council repeals Municipal Government Act fees and other charges, policy number IM-7383.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 2. Councillor Firth.
Mr. Mayor, I move the council repeals new water meter record policy number 11S-791228.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 3. Councillor Chavez.
The council repeals manufactured mobile home tax reimbursement policy number 69C-09-25-00.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 4. Councillor Bruin.
I'll make the motion that council appeals the Tabor Housing Authority policy number 19C-49/81.
Motion on the table.
Just excuse me, I think,
Councillor Chavez.
did you say 49 or 459?
459.
Thank you.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Item 5. Councillor Garner.
To make a motion that council repeals use of postage meter policy number 16S-8066.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 6. Councillor Firth.
Thank you. I move that council repeals utility fund refunds forms policy number 13S-8011.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Item 7. Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move that council repeals Purchase Materials Alberta Association of MDs and Counties policy number 30M-8134.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 6.9, information for council. Mr. Armfield.
Yes, you have in front of you the traffic committee meeting minutes from October the 16th.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make that motion. Councillor Garner.
Make that motion that council accepts the material received in this agenda item as information.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 6.10, standard item, council requests. Mr. Armfield.
This is the opportunity that council has to ask administration any questions or give us any direction to the form of a motion.
All right, thank you. Any items on your mind? Councillor Bruin.
Mr. Mayor, it's a small item, I think, but I attended the Remembrance Day services at the auditorium there. I noticed a lot of people slipping as they came into the building after they left the rug there. And a lot of people on the high hills and some people with low mobility issues. I think perhaps we should look at maybe making that a little safer for the entrance. Just after the second door, after the rug stops there, it was pretty slippery.
I guess I can clarify too. There was down at the bottom of the stairs that was coming in, that was fairly wet floor as well. So that may be something for future to have a carpet at that location also. So I don't know that we need a motion out of that, do we necessarily, Mr. Armfield?
Yeah, if you're looking, what I'm hearing is that we would have a couple of carpets on hand for purchase, or sorry, that we would purchase a couple of carpets and have them on hand, and then in the event of a snow event, we would just put them down on the floor. Is that what I'm hearing as a solution?
I believe that's more than applicable for safety's sake, for conditions. Yes, correct.
Okay.
That's what I was basically intending. I didn't know a more motion, a simple item like putting a carpet down, I think would solve it. So.
Yep.
But if you want a motion, I'll definitely make a motion that the
Yeah, absolutely. A motion would be preferred, and if a funding source could be identified, a suggestion might be the council discretionary fund.
I'd like to make the motion, Mr. Mayor, that we the town addresses the wet surfaces at the auditorium, perhaps with putting carpet in the spots where it's wet when it's wet. And to purchase these from our discretionary fund.
Council discretionary fund?
Council discretionary fund.
All right. That clear enough? Okay, all right. Motion on Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question, how much is left in discretionary fund, please?
Mr. Orwa?
At this point, we're left with 39,000.
All right. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Anything else on anybody's mind that wants to bring up for future consideration? All right, and there's nothing further motion required for what's outstanding. Something's ongoing, correct?
No, this will be the next one on the list that we can have a look at. We've got the list there in front of you, and all of those are in process.
Okay, any questions arising out of those? All right. With that, we have no delegations next, and or meeting inquiries. Tabor Times. Trevor?
No inquiries.
Great, thank you. All right. I would ask for a 30-minute adjournment for the meal break there then, please, from someone.
So move that we take 30-minute lunch break.
Great, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Want to
And
move.
reconvene in closed session.
Reconvene in closed session.
And reconvene in
Perfect.
closed session.
That's got to cover.
After
All right.
eating.
Perfect. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you.